Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. It's that time again. I'm joined with the entire editorial team for our end of May podcast. And this time we have congratulations and exciting news of quite a few people in the team making the shortlist for the Headlinemoney Awards as well as the mag itself. So how are you guys feeling about that?
It's fantastic news, Kim. Really nice for us to be up for B2B Title of the Year at the Headlinemoney Awards. Some tough competition that we're up against, but I think personally, I think the team are already winners because of what we've produced in the last year. Obviously, as we know, a lot of the team are quite new, including yourself as well. Yeah. It's not just the mag, obviously, it's the whole brand itself. So, the stuff that we produce online, these things like the podcasts as well. And we've got a great production team behind us that are the unsung heroes. So hopefully it'll be nice to get recognised. But there are a few individual names on the list as well, which is lovely to see. Anyone want to pipe up about their making the shortlist? Lois,
I was pleased to get shortlisted for the Rising Star after less than a year on the publication, so I was pleased about that. I'm looking forward to the night, and I believe I'm up against one of my colleagues, Mamadou.
Duking it out.
Yeah, that sounds very good. Because we started the same day, so that's some lovely night. Yeah. For us, so yeah.
Kim, I'm just pleased some judges have had to decide that's not me because, I don't want to have this rift between the teams. So
no, it's okay.
They're both great rising stars for me, but I'm not choosing.
Yeah. No, I'm going to be interested to see on the night, like at the Oscars when, someone doesn't win and then they have to keep this smile on their face and be like, yeah, they deserved it. I want to see between Mamadou and Lois, whoever wins, if they're able to.
But Louise, for Louise, if she wins, she definitely deserves it, She's a fantastic journalist, So yeah.
But Mamadou's up for 2 anyway. It's fine. Mamadou's up for another one.
Lois, when you work with, a very good team like this, it's easy to shine, to be better, So, but it's team effort, wow. You guys always kind of inspire me on a daily basis to be better, So yeah, but it's team effort.
Beautiful words. I love that. Also, Mike, you also got shortlisted as well.
Indeed, pensions, a B2B pensions journalist of the year. So hopefully they say 3 is a magic number.
Third time Mike, absolutely.
Yeah, fingers crossed, Mike.
So fingers crossed. No, so it's really good. But as Mamadou was saying, great team and really happy to have so many shortlisted journalists, reporters, and all for one for all. So yeah. I'm really hoping to see what happens on the Oscar night or our Oscars, as we say. Hopefully no one will, go up on stage and, slap anyone.
Oh yeah.
Remember that. Fingers crossed.
That's only if we don't win, right? Mamadou's also up for protection journalist. Is that right?
Yes, I am. Yeah. I think that's the second nomination, this year. As I say, I've just been very lucky, to have the right people around me.
Not just luck, hard work.
Not just luck. Look, once you have the right people around you, it's easy to be good, It's easy to be good, Wow. So thank you all.
One thing that's quite nice as well, Kim, is that weirdly I'm up for commentator of the year, but up against some nationals. So in all honesty, I'm not holding out much hope, but it's nice to see money marketing up there with the likes of titles that, people know in the outside world as well as just financial titles. So
if you don't get a highly commended, at least I will be personally upset myself. It's great to start with good news, but I just realized I got ahead of myself, just jumped straight in just because of the good news for the Headlinemoney shortlist. But I didn't actually get you guys to introduce yourselves. I'm sure that the listeners know you guys, but if you want to do an introduction as to who is on this call today. So, Katie, start us off.
I'll start us off. So, Katie Pigden, editor of Money Marketing. But I'm just going to say this is going to be my last podcast in a while, actually, because I am going off on maternity leave. So I will leave you in the capable hands of the rest of the team, and sadly won't be able to be at the Oscars of our industry on the night. But hopefully I'll be watching from the sidelines, and I'm sure the team will keep me up to date if we do get some good news.
Oh yeah, we'll have you on FaceTime. Don't you worry. Mike.
Michael Climbs, news editor.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lois Farley, chief reporter.
And Andy Newman-Smith, feature writer.
Avi Andrea, reporter.
Yeah, Mohamed Musaturi, reporter.
Okay, fantastic. So last month we talked a little bit about the May issue. So if you guys can tell me about anything that stood out for you guys that you wrote for either the mag or online in May, let me know what was happening throughout this glorious month that we've had.
I think we should pick on JB to go first because it was his cover feature. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that from him. Yeah,
you gave us a little sneak peek last time. So
it was about the FCA's consultation paper for a redress scheme for the British Steel Pension Scheme. So I would say collected a range of feedbacks from different actors in the industry. So one financial advisor has been particularly involved in the BSPS story, a lawyer and an MP as well. And from what I can remember, it's not...
We're trying so hard not to do the joke again, JB. So, me and Kim on our best behaviour this time.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
So I would say overall, it's a kind of dissatisfactions because there are some people some of the steel workers that might be left out of the scheme because they don't qualify for the requirements. But again, it's just a consultation paper. It could be amended or redrafted depending on the feedback the FTA will receive.
Right. So it's something that you will keep looking into in the future?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that's been going on for a long time. I think certainly Mike, up for Pensions Journalist of the Year, probably knows a lot of the background as well. JB is, very busy most days, and journalists do have a tendency to sometimes write a story and then go, right, that's filed, done, forget about that. But it has been going on a while, hasn't it, Mike, really?
Yeah. And it was a very, very accomplished cover from Jean-Baptiste. So Jean-Baptiste had to get up to speed on a lot of information, and it's basically the biggest pensions and scamming scandal of, say, the last 5 years. And so he had to get up to speed with a lot of the issues, mainly being that steel workers were ripped off, missold, got bad advice from rogue advisors, and were persuaded to give up their very good final salary, defined benefit pensions with a very guaranteed secure income until they die, and even potentially very good spouse benefits. And they gave those up and transferred into, say, via a SIP, self-invested personal pension, into, say, various financial products which had high charges, wasn't guaranteed income, and basically financially ruined them. So that's left a bitter taste in many steelworkers' mouths. And JB's cover is about the redress scheme to try and take away some of that bitterness through compensation.
Yeah.
So whether they will finally get justice or not, we will wait and see. And I'm sure JB can write a very good part 2.
He might have to remind himself what he wrote.
Part 2 on whether justice has finally been delivered or not, because it's definitely, as JB's cover makes very clear, it's not the end of this. There's still, I think, some way to go.
Yeah. There's no indication of where it might go, though.
Well, I think it looks like that the FCA's proposals that they will be implemented. but so much time will have, passed. And one of the big things in JV's feature cover that Al Rush, who's a big British Steel campaigner, was talking about was that even if they implement it, it'll be about a year. I think maybe before someone gets actually any money. So the cogs are moving, but at what point do people actually see money in their bank account?
Yeah, and which seems really terrible, especially with the current climate financially right now. It seems like waiting a year would be really difficult.
It's a really good point as well, actually.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good point.
Well, we can stick with you, Mike. What stood out for you that you covered in May?
So in terms of what I covered in May, I think that an interesting thing for me was that I was approached by the FCA to take part in a call with some of the enforcement action they were doing. This big and I've actually never had this before. Experience, and a few journalists, we were allowed to sit on a call with some sort of senior FCA managers where they talked about enforcement action they'd taken against 5 directors who had over a £76.5 million pensions scandal, and these were directors and firms involved in what would be the word, misappropriating, say, the funds of I think a couple of thousand clients and or investors, and again, transfers of pensions to SIPs, and the SIP was used as the wrapper to get them into various financial instruments and investments, which later turned out to be not as advertised. So that was very interesting, just because what a proactive stance the regulator was taking against those particular directors and how they were really highlighting it. And I haven't had that experience before. So I've written those types of stories, but not been, approached by them in that way, saying, the regulator saying, we really want you to come and look at what we've done.
Yeah.
How we've gone after the bad guys. So that for me was something quite interesting.
Was that them trying to be more transparent?
I think so, because I think they've tried to say that they've been criticised in the past, going back to British Steel, for not being active. They're just sort of sitting back, watching stuff happen and then reacting to it. So I think that's maybe scarred them a little bit. So this is actually, at least in my experience with them, a bit of a change in behaviour.
Yeah.
And they actually have been more active and actually called me up about some of the British Steel stuff. So when they were doing the redress scheme, I was called up by one of their press officers saying, we're going to be publishing, some news on it next week. This is when it will be coming out. Do you have any questions? So actually the past couple of months, actually, when I think about it, on British Steel and some of their enforcement action around pensions, they actually have been coming out to us more, rather than us going to them, which is actually interesting to note, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully
that was something that surprised me a while back as well, actually, Mike, because like you say, sometimes it's not been a very proactive regulator, it's more reactive, and certainly a lot of our readers will imply that. But actually, when they were increasing fees, again, they sort of told me earlier, which I was quite surprised, because obviously it wasn't something that was necessarily going to be well received by our readers. But, I think it's a step in the right direction that they are engaging with us a little bit more, because also it's, they should be engaging with the industry and the profession, obviously, of course. They have more to regulate than just advisors. We're aware of that, but I think sometimes advisors maybe give the impression that, they don't understand us, but there's obviously a lot of areas for them to work on. It's by no means perfect, but yeah, step in the right direction, that if they're engaging with the press a little bit more, we can obviously get some of those messages out, explain some of the things that's going on, so that yes, if they hold their hands up, maybe they haven't always got it right in the past, but maybe there's movement to improve how it operates.
That's true. Really interesting. Can I just ask, when did they call you about the fees? Was that in the past couple of months or 3 months ago?
I'm trying to think when it came out now. It was quite a shock.
Recent. It was really recent, actually. Like, it's literally been only the last couple of months where I've had like a couple of, I was like, oh, that's actually.
Yeah. I remember saying in the office, I was a bit like taken aback going, oh, hold on. The FCA wants to sort of tell me things. And there was a couple of stories that sort of came out of it, and, you know, a lot more honest as well about sort of their register, and that there's a bit of work that needs to be done with that as well. I know they've invested quite a lot of money, but people still sort of argue, is it fit for purpose? You know, how much does the end consumer understand this? If we're often sort of told, oh, you know, make sure that this person's valid and they're okay. If you go and look on this register, I mean, we're people that use it slightly above average, and I don't always know what I'm doing with it. So, you know, it was good that they're able to acknowledge some of those things. I think there's some other areas where we do ask them stuff and they're still a little bit quiet, or they're not, you know, not forthcoming with everything, but we'll praise where it's due and then see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Lois, we didn't have you in our last end of month.
I missed it.
It was, we missed you terribly. So can you tell me what stood out for you in May?
Yes. So first of all, I wanted to mention the interview I did in the May issue with Ben Goss, the CEO of Dynamic Planner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting to talk to. He's clearly really passionate about technology. And he actually helped launch one of the first internet banks called Egg in the mid-90s. And he was telling me at the time he thought the internet was going to be big, but I think somebody that he was working with, one of his clients, said that it was just going to be a flash in the pan. And that made me laugh at the interview. It literally made me laugh. And he was like, yeah, well, you can laugh. But at the time, everyone just thought, some people just thought the internet was just going to be a sort of fad that came and went. Clearly, he was proved right. It was a big thing. And then, so he set up Dynamic Planner to use technology to help advisors make their clients' journeys easier. So yeah, he was a really interesting person to talk to. And I find technology really interesting. So yeah, it was a good interview. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I still can't wrap my head around possibly thinking that the internet is a fad.
I know, but back in the day, I suppose, in the early days.
I did have an editor a couple years ago in a past job tell me that Twitter was a fad. And yeah, I don't know if he's on Twitter now. I should go check and tweet at him and be like, is this still a fad?
Yeah.
Okay. So Momadou, what about you? What stood out for you that you covered in May?
No, well, in May, I mean, I kind of like been doing platform stories. I mean, thanks to Katie. Katie has kindly asked me to fill these big shoes, while she's away.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, but yeah, I mean, I've been doing stuff, in that sector, and it seemed to be going, through a kind of like a rough patch, There's so much complaint, from customers concerning transfer delays, poor service, and we have this, cost of living crisis and kind of stuff, So you have, so many stuff, going on, at the moment, with the sector, So yeah, so those are the areas I've been covering, this month. And I've had very many stories, from my coverage, interactive investors, their transfer delays, and then, what's the other, D2C platform, that's, yeah, also had an issue with poor customer service, so yeah, that's the area I've been covering, this month,
It does seem to be the topic that we seem to always come across a lot, which is just poor customer service.
No, poor customer service, exactly. So yeah, I think because of, they keep, blaming, the COVID pandemic and kind of low staff numbers. But I think, the pandemic has been around for 2 years now, I think they should do something, they should up their game, but in a way.
Yeah. I feel like other industries, other companies have quickly reevaluated and been able to address those issues, and they don't have such terrible customer service.
No.
So why not in this industry?
But Kim, you're so right. We keep seeing it, and actually, one of Momadou's stories has like shot back up the rankings.
Yeah.
So it was right up there before. Has been doing well all this year. But your thing about Mercer, that you did a while back, Momadou, that's back in our top 10 this month. So it's got us questioning: is there something else going on there that we need to look into? So we'll be doing that.
No, indeed, yeah.
Giving them a warning.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're looking at you.
Yeah, that's a story to follow up on. Yeah, that's a story to follow up on.
Okay, great. And Lois,
I was just going to say, speaking of Mercer, I was at a conference recently at the end of May, which was held by the Financial Technology Research Council, and it was all about technology and how it can empower advisors. And actually, Mercer came up at the conference as having terrible service. I think specifically they were talking about the reams of paper that Mercer sent out to advisors. Obviously, I agree that paper should be an option for if clients want it, but I think sending out sort of 70 to 80 pages worth of documents just to make a transfer or do whatever it was is pretty ridiculous. So it just made me think of that.
Also, you wonder with the engagement, don't you, that, people say that they want people to be engaged with their finances and sort of for it to be understandable, and reams of pages, whether it's in a digital or physical form. I can't really see that people are going to read them from start to finish, really.
Yeah, no,
especially 70 pages. I don't know if I'd make it to page 10 before I just say, like the Apple terms and conditions thing, you just scroll and say, yes, I accept, other than actually looking. Yeah, which is probably, maybe it's a tactic.
I think Michael McIntyre has a joke about that in terms of we've all probably signed over our house and don't realise it. We've just scrolled to the bottom, said, read these terms and conditions, and years later they come and say, did you know when you signed up for this account?
you sold your soul.
Yeah. So, always good to read the small print, I guess, if you can.
Yeah. Okay, great. Amanda, what about you? What did you cover in May that stood out for you?
Well, sorry to be a sort of prophet of doom, really, but I'm looking at the cost of living crisis. I know it's kind of not a pleasant subject, really, and I'm kind of like a bit low to kind of, we've had quite a happy conversation until now.
No, it's not. You're not the one bringing us down. It's the state of affairs, isn't it? It's reality.
Exactly. But I've been looking at whether the cost of living crisis is affecting advisors and how they're running their businesses, because we all know it's been in the news again, the energy rebates that people will be getting. It is a real issue, and it got me thinking as to whether advisors are feeling the pinch, advisors that run their own businesses. So I kind of looked at that. Spoke to a couple of firms, very different firms actually. One was just like guy on his own, sort of runs his own business on his own, and he was saying that he hasn't really seen anything rise, to be honest, but he was saying he hopes that companies don't use it as an excuse to rack up their prices, pass everything on to the consumers, because the consumers are expecting it, aren't they, expecting everything to go up. So he was okay, but I was speaking to another advisor who has staff, and she has seen costs rocket. Reason being, just increased staff costs because, you've got national insurance contributions going up as well. And also she was saying that she likes to incentivise staff who pass exams, financially. She wants to reward them and, keep them, retain staff, be rewarded by their loyalty. But if they're doing it all at once and all your other costs are going up, then that can be quite, difficult to manage. So she unfortunately has had to put up costs for her clients, but she's offset that by launching a digital advice business. So I was looking at, that as well, how are advisors managing it? If they have to put up costs, what are they doing to offset that? And I thought that was quite interesting, really.
Yeah.
I did actually speak to a tax advisor as well, because I thought that was important, because I was thinking, if you run your own business, you have got stuff that you can, reclaim for your tax. You can come off against tax. So I was looking at that as well. It was interesting to find out from that tax advisor, though, that if you work from home, that kind of complicates things, because if you're trying to sort of claim the electricity and whatever, then realistically, because you live in that space, you can't sort of claim the whole bill back. So, basically it's all in there, really, what you can claim, what you can't. But can I also talk about another story I did as well, Ken?
Yeah, of course.
I looked at soft skills because, we all know that that's really essential for an advisor to have dealing with people, whatever. But there was some research by the Skills Builder Partnership, which found that there's an unequal playing field. They looked at socio-economic background, and they were saying if you're from a disadvantaged background, you're more likely to not have soft skills developed at, at school age and thereafter. And it kind of impacts the rest of your life in terms of what you do as a job, how much money you can earn, and that sort of thing. So I thought, this is quite interesting from the advice profession's perspective, because we all know that there needs to be more diversity in the profession and whatever. But if people are not developing their soft skills, are they even on the radar as potential advisors? So I was kind of getting some opinion on that.
When you talk about soft skills, maybe I have no idea, but what are you referring to exactly? What are soft skills?
Yes, sorry, I should have explained that at the start, Kim. Yeah, just the ability to kind of converse with people, relate to people, be articulate, have a conversation, build a relationship, hello, how are you? How you feeling? And listening as well. I think that's quite a big part of soft skills. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just, I didn't even think of that as a skill. It's just.
But it's interesting you say that, Kim, because that is the problem amongst these youngsters. They may be sort of not seeing that they do have soft skills, that they might go off and do, five-a-side football at weekends or something, and they're working as part of a team.
Yeah.
That's a soft skill. They're developing these things, but they're coming, back to school or, going for their first jobs or whatever, and not really realising they've got that, and they can't therefore articulate to employers, actually, I do have these skills. So it was a new thing to me as well, just sort of speaking to people about that. But I want to end my discussion on that by, referring to Julian Hintz, of course, because he said something to me which I think is really important as well, that even if you don't develop these skills at school, all is not lost. You can develop it if you want to be an advisor. It's never too late. So I think that's a good point to end that with, even if you don't have it, don't feel that, I'm never going to be an advisor. So
yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so moving forward into, actually, I don't know, for you, Katie, what stood out for you in May?
For me, I did still do a couple of platform stories before I fully hand them over. Obviously, anyone's got any ideas or anything, do contact Momadou while I'm off, or the rest of the team. I found it fascinating trying to sort of build up platform coverage since I joined. I think I've made no secret of it, that when I didn't understand. A bit like you asking about soft skills. I was like, what is a platform and what does it do? But it does seem to generate a lot of stories for us, actually. And when we put a platform story up, the people come flocking. I had a couple. So James Hay acquired Nucleus earlier in the year, and it was, or actually, was it last year? It's been quite a while, been going on for a while. But actually, they kept the Nucleus name. But I think advisors are quite concerned if there's this thing called replatforming, and when sort of technology changes and things that go on in the background. And so I found out that James Hay should be having its platform upgrade later this year. No definite date given. They're very reluctant to, if they put a firm date, then obviously we'll be watching that. Yeah. And then if they don't meet that date, then we'll probably write a story that they've missed that date. So probably played it safe that, it is coming. They've always said that the James Hay platform will go first because it needs the most work, apparently. Where we've been saying about sort of technology, maybe it has sort of not had the investment that it would have liked previously. So I think that's where they're going to sort of work on, with a move to eventually sort of put it all under one, but there's no real sort of rush for that just yet. So they've got a big deal with FNZ, one of the big sort of technology providers that are behind the scene and what's going on there. And then found out that also Nucleus are sort of having a bit more of an active cash management. So clients generally aren't encouraged to have too much cash on their platforms. But if they do, then obviously they haven't been making money on it sometimes in terms of the interest. Some companies keep it all, some hand, some to the client, some do a mixture of in between. And Nucleus are trying to say that they're going to give a little bit of a better return to people and find better deals for them. And that story seemed to be quite popular as well. In terms of the magazine, not something that I wrote, but one piece that sort of stood out to me was maybe the fact that I'm going on maternity leave very soon, is a piece from Charlotte Wood, an advisor for our coalface section, saying that, don't have kids if you can't afford them. That's not necessarily her words, it's the fact of what people have been saying previously. And she looks at it and sort of addresses that surely it's a bit of a broken system. It's how much childcare is costing. And obviously we could be losing sort of good women from the workforce if we sort of take this attitude. So obviously I'm sure I have it all to come to find out how much exactly childcare costs and how I'm going to manage that when I do return. But I found that very interesting to read some of our comment sections.
Well, if you ever need a babysitter for an afternoon, I will happily give you an afternoon off.
Oh, careful what you say there, Kim.
I
just how many days a week, so I'm clear.
I can do a solid 2 Saturdays or Sundays a month. I'm not sure how great I am at diaper duty, but I will.
Neither am I, Kim. So.
Test out a watermelon or something. I'll start training up. Yeah. Okay.
That should be easy, Kim. That should be easy, Kim.
Hopefully, it'll be future training for myself. Hopefully, one day. So moving forward to the June issue that is dropping very soon. I'm not quite aware who did the cover for this. Lois. So can you give us a little sneak peek into what the readers can look forward to?
Yes. So I was working on a cover story. It was based on Aviva buying Succession, which I can't remember the exact date, but happened mid-March, was it? Mm-hmm. I think. And sort of what that means for the wider sector, whether vertical integration will increase, whether it will make consolidation more intense, and also whether vertical integration is even good for advisors and clients. So I won't say much more than that because the issue will be out soon, but it was an interesting one to write.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting. And Amanda, what do we have to look forward to from you in the June issue?
I'm going to give you a couple of highlights, Kim.
Okay, great.
I've been looking at cohabiting couples as a source of financial vulnerability, because in law there's no such thing as a common law spouse, and yet people think that they do have the same rights as couples. So I'm looking at that in a bit more detail because there are so many people living together who are not married. Mm-hmm. And I'm also looking at whether ESG should explicitly include our healthcare to become ESHG. I love an acronym there, so it's getting longer and longer potentially. So the reason being that the social element of ESG seems a bit vague to many people. So clarification around the role of healthcare. So there you go.
Yeah, it does seem like we're going to have to personally invest in our own healthcare moving forward. So probably might end up adding that H in there at some point. Anyone else? Does anyone else have?
So this was my last one to put to bed. So I think there's some great content in there, including a good MM Meets, which I'll take credit for this month. So talking of technology and platforms, like we've said previously, I've interviewed the chief executive of Fundment, one of the sort of newer platforms on the block, does things slightly differently. He shared some great views about what he thinks the sector's like. He views platforms more as a technology business. They just happen to work in financial service. And so that's Ola Abdul, and that's coming out in the June issue. So look out for that. And although I've signed off June, I won't reveal who I've interviewed for the July magazine, but I will crop up again in July.
Yay. We'll keep plugging you throughout so that no one forgets. Yeah. I know that I'm sure no one will forget, but
well, you never know. You never know. They might not know who I am to start with, so let alone forget.
No, they'll probably be sending you monthly tweets like, we miss you. So does anyone else have anything else to add? Yeah, Lois.
I do. I've just been looking at the stats and I've noticed that, so I mentioned that conference that I attended at the end of May. Mm-hmm. And at that, Fidelity made quite a big announcement about teaming up with a Canadian fintech company called Conquest to launch some new software called Conquest Planning. And I've just noticed that story shot right to the top of the thread.
Super quickly.
Quite an interesting one. Supposed to be sort of making it quicker and easier for advisors to find out, like get insights into what their clients are doing and how their circumstances are changing. And so that'll definitely be a proposition to watch.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a bit more on that.
Also, JB had a story about a particular sort of software disappearing, maybe? JB?
You mean Voyant?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so Voyant is a software that advisors use for different things, like I think cash flow modeling. And so there's the legacy one is desktop based, and the other one can be run on how do you say in English? On a web page, basically.
Okay.
So
online.
Yeah. Well, you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And so the desktop-based version is going to disappear sometime this year. They haven't made a formal announcement yet. Mm-hmm. So some advisors were not really happy about it because there are some features on the desktop version that are not available on the online version, which is called Advisor Go. And also some were disgruntled that this information was leaked via tweet and not formally announced.
Okay. We'll have to see if advisors do go, Kim. Maybe that's one thing that we'll watch out.
Yeah.
They need to be careful with how they name it, advisor go.
Self-fulfilling prophecy or something. But surely could they not just transfer whatever is on the desktop one if they are going to take it away and then just add those extra features onto the online version? Or is
that's actually a story I'm working on right now. And yes, so most of the features would be from the desktop version would be added on Advisor Go by this summer. Okay,
so that was a little bit of a sneak peek or exclusive kind of there from you. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I really enjoyed talking to you guys. I always enjoy these monthly sit downs that we have, and I have to say that I'm super sad that this will be the last one we do with Katie.
I'll be listening every month, Kim, don't worry.
Yeah, maybe 1 month, if it gets too much, we'll just do like a phone in where you can give us unrelated updates on new mum life.
Where I probably don't even know my own name anymore is what you mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, sleep deprived. So there's a certain point when it gets fun and funny. But I don't know if sleep deprived with a child, that's different. I think I can only relate to the days when I used to stay up all night doing dissertations and stuff.
It's all right. I'll probably be calling on a couple of members of the team that are already parents and experienced. So Amanda, Momadou, watch this space. I might be messaging you for some help.
That's fine.
Okay. Fantastic. So thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, Kim.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.